Ward. I am one of the admission counselors in our Office of Admission at Providence, and very excited to welcome you all to this evening's webinar on health professions advising at Providence College. I am joined by one of my favorite colleagues on campus, Morgan Rayner, who is the health professions advisor, who is here to share a little bit more about the program, her role on campus, and how she can support students as they work through their 4 years at Providence. Students definitely send some questions along through the Q&A function down at the bottom of the screen, and we will do our best to get all of those answered this evening. This webinar is being recorded, so we'll be able to share it with you all afterwards as well. But Morgan, if you would like to take it away, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Liz. As Liz shared, my name is Morgan Rayner. I'm the Health Professions Advisor here at Providence College, and I work with students as they are preparing for clinical graduate education, so their next step beyond Providence. So let's talk a little bit about what is pre-health advising and why it matters. The most important piece is that you don't need to navigate your path to graduate study alone. You have someone to help and support and guide you through that process. That will be me as the health professions advisor. So I work with students and alumni from all majors, all class years, as they are preparing for future clinical graduate programs. I like to think about that as a patient-facing job role that requires graduate education. So you need education beyond Providence College, and you plan to work with patients. So that is a wide variety of career paths. Maybe it's medical school, maybe it's optometry school, maybe you're thinking about rehab sciences, PT, OT, any clinical patient-facing graduate program. I will be working with you through that process. When I'm working with students, they are stepping through my office at various points in their undergraduate career and beyond, which means we're talking about a variety of things. Most of those pieces often fall into either exploring careers, preparing for careers, and then applying to graduate school. So when we think about exploring and having those conversations, we are talking about different health professions and paths that may reflect your interests, values, and goals. I do not expect that you know which path is right for you when you walk through my door. I'm hopeful that you are coming in curious, ready to learn, and with your eyes open. So sometimes that means talking about shadowing and exploring opportunities, doing some independent research, conversations with me, looking at what are all of the health professions that are available to you as future careers, because I recognize you may or may not know. It's okay if you know, and it's okay if you don't. And then once you've done some exploration, we are starting to talk about preparation. So that is preparing yourself for success in graduate school, but also in many ways preparing your application for graduate school. And that's going to take a few years to move through. So we are thinking about building your strong academic foundation. We are talking about experiential learning opportunities, and we're also building your personal foundation and your knowledge and confidence as you are moving through this process. So we're talking about coursework planning, we're talking about clinical exposures, we're talking about research and skill development. It really does vary. And sometimes we're in the preparation phase, and then we actually step back to explore. Maybe you've discovered something and you want to go shadow in a different area, and that's okay. So we will move through those phases as you are progressing at Providence. And then in your later years at Providence or post-grad, it's time for us to talk about application. And so that is guidance and support as you are moving through your application process. That includes your personal statement, that includes your application materials, that includes a committee letter if that applies to you. And then also once you're through the formal application and submission process, support past that. So that is talking about mock interviews, that is talking about school selection, writing to schools with letters of intent, etc. At Providence, we have a very personalized advising approach. You will find that in health professions advising and outside of health professions advising, every student's journey is going to look different as you are pursuing clinical graduate education. And I am here to work with you in collaboration with you and your academic advisor to make a personalized plan for you. So I will not be your academic advisor, but you will have a skilled advisor on campus that will aid you in completion of your degree at Providence, and I will be working in collaboration with them to think about and talk about what are your next steps after Providence. So we are looking at one-on-one advising, individual meetings where we are speaking specifically about your goals, your timeline, and answering any questions that you may have as a current student or alumni. I also provide drop-in hours 2 times a week. I have drop-in hours sometimes with my direct colleagues in different spaces on campus and sometimes independently. But those are opportunities for you to stop in, ask a quick question, get clarification about which anatomy course should we be talking about for this next upcoming semester. Registration's quickly approaching, so those are a lot of the conversations I'm having right now. Or maybe it's time to think about MCAT registration. Should I plan for January or March? So any quick questions that you might have as you're walking through, if you see me on campus, you are welcome to ask those. And that is what drop-in hours are designed for. We also do a variety of group workshops. So that is focus sessions regarding application preparation, interview preparation, and graduate program information. We had a graduate program on campus yesterday evening where they shared all about their process, what the student experience is like on their campus. So making sure that our students are informed about the different programs that are available to them after Providence as they're preparing for application. And then comprehensive guidance. So that is making sure that we are looking at the whole picture, your experience as a Providence College student, and also your preparation outside of your academic time at Providence. So sequencing your courses, thinking about potential gap year planning or preparation, career exploration, identifying meaningful experiences for you. It is my hope that at the time of application, that your application and your peers' application look different because you each have individual paths that you're following. And also, I want to make sure that we're highlighting that we are working on up-to-date information and resources. I'm consistently engaging in regular professional development, and I do work with a student advisory committee. That student advisory committee helps inform the services and resources that we have available at Providence through Health Professions Advising by making sure that I'm aware of student needs outside of what's coming through my office at regular meetings. At Providence, when you are a health professions student or a pre-health student, you are going to be working with so many supports and resources beyond my office. And I want to make sure that I'm highlighting those as well, because it is not just the health professions advisor, but it is the network on campus that supports our pre-health students as they're preparing for clinical graduate education. And Student Success Center, you may have heard from them earlier this evening, but we have a regular communication and collaboration with them. I do drop-ins in their space, Center for Engaged Learning, the Career Center, Student Engagement and Leadership, Writing Center, Tutoring Center, Center for Global Education, academic departments. They are all resources that I am in daily communication with, and I am regularly referring students out to for a variety of resources. Maybe you need tutoring, or maybe you are the tutor. There are so many different ways that our students will be engaged in these spaces, and it's just important to highlight that this network for our pre-health students extends far beyond my office. So when we're thinking about your academic path, it is important to note that you are a Providence College student first. You can't get to graduate school until you've completed your time at Providence College. And I want to make sure that you enjoy your time while at PC. We can't forget about your current experience in pursuit of your future experience. And I want to highlight that Providence College, the liberal arts curriculum really does prepare well-rounded candidates for graduate programs. I hear this from the programs directly. They are aware that PC students write well, they read well, and that is all coming from the liberal arts education and the core curriculum at Providence College. It's preparing you to be a well-rounded student in the sciences and beyond. I want to note that there is no single major for pre-health students. You need to choose the right academic path for you and the space in which you will thrive. That is going to look different for every pre-health student. It is important to note that there are academic prerequisites for graduate programs, and sometimes the academic prerequisites will inform which academic path that you choose. But you can be a marketing major and go to medical school. You still need to complete your prerequisites. And that may be a very heavy course load, or there may be courses that you need to take outside of Providence if you choose to pursue marketing while you're at PC, but that is okay. I met with a marketing student just the other day as they're thinking about medical school. Maybe that wasn't what they thought they wanted to do when they stepped onto campus, but it is now the path that they want to follow. So I work with students, like I said before, across campus, no matter your academic major, as you're thinking about these next steps. But it is important to note that academic prerequisites will vary, and they are critical as you are thinking about your next steps and pursuit. So they may inform your educational program, but it's most important that you are choosing an academic path that fits right for you. With that, strong academic performance is going to matter at time of application. So that is proving that you have the academic capacity to be successful in the graduate program. And that will be within the sciences and also outside of the sciences. Most graduate paths are going to calculate GPAs as your cumulative, as your science, and also as what they call AO, all other. So they will be looking at a comprehensive assessment of your academic performance. And it is really important that you are setting a foundation in your first year to be successful moving forward. That might mean using resources, tutoring center, office hours, etc., and getting yourself familiar with those in courses that you're comfortable will set you up for success if at a later date you need them because you're having a hard time in a class. I do want to note you can study abroad. That is a question that I get pretty frequently. Can I be a pre-health student and study abroad? The answer is yes. Most of our students do study abroad in junior year. At times that does impact the timeline in which they're choosing to pursue some of their prerequisite coursework, et cetera. So those would be collaborative conversations that I am having with the student and the academic advisor. But the very clear answer is yes, you can study abroad. And I do ask, as you're thinking about your academic path, that you are making sure that you're using your resources and you're staying connected with your advisor as in your academic advisor, and also myself as the pre-health advisor. Now, beyond the classroom, like I said, there is more to being a Providence College student than just your academics. So we are thinking about how our students are engaging across campus and within the Providence community. Most of our students are participating, or many of them are participating in faculty-led research. That some of that is maybe in health policy, others maybe are studying ants in the biology department. So it really does vary in the type of research our students are doing, but many of our pre-health students are choosing to engage in faculty-led research on campus. They're also joining student clubs and organizations. Some of these are health-focused and some of them are interdisciplinary, and I encourage you to choose clubs and orgs that are of interest to you. They do not need to be clubs and orgs that your peers are participating in. But we have a lot of health-focused clubs on campus. We have Physicians of PC, we have Pre-Dental Club, Pre-PA Society, Bio Society, Friars Pre-Health Volunteer Club. The list continues on. So there are a lot of health-focused clubs and organizations to get involved in on campus as a member, and then potentially is in a leadership role at a later date. Volunteering with our local community is also something that a lot of our students are doing. So they're engaged with the Providence community, maybe in a clinical setting, maybe in a non-clinical setting, but they are connecting with Providence at large in that way. And then also connecting with alumni who work in a variety of health professions. Career Services does a wonderful job of working with students to connect for shadowing opportunities. We regularly have networking events on campus focused specifically around health professions for our current students to connect with alumni who are working in those spaces. And then also participating in global education programs. Those may be academic and they may not be academic. That's where we go back to study abroad, and also some various service programs on campus. But there are a lot of opportunities for global engagement for our students. And then working and shadowing in hospitals and clinical settings to develop some real world insight while they're here at Providence and maybe at home too. So engaging in local hospitals, maybe the local free clinic, a variety of different clinical settings. And then now you've explored, you've prepared, and it's time to apply. I know we are far from that point, but I do want to highlight some of the services and resources that are available. Current students and alumni are going to receive personalized support and guidance as they are navigating the application process. for clinical graduate education. That means you are getting a one-on-one advising and strategy. We are talking about your individual timeline, your individual application, your individual materials. It will likely be in multiple parts as you move through that process. We recognize that application is not a one-time event, but it is something that you're preparing for over time. We will also provide application material review, so personal statement support, experience support, etc. Providence College does offer a committee letter. That is something that we have available for our medical, dental, and podiatry students. That is because it is best practice to offer for those programs. Other programs do not accept committee letters, and therefore they are not something that we are currently providing. Interview preparation is also something that is available through my office as individuals begin to receive interviews for the graduate programs that they have applied to, and also regular workshops and resources. I just recently had the privilege of starting to do some mid-cycle check-ins. So working with students that have submitted their applications in June and July, and now we are starting to check in to see where are they at, what kind of interviews have they had, school offers, next steps, etc. So that application support does not end when the submit button is pressed. It is something that is ongoing as you're moving through the entire application cycle. And I do want to lastly note that Providence College does have established partnerships and articulation agreements with a variety of professional schools in the health fields that is available on our website. I, as the health professions advisor, am the primary contact for all of those contracts and articulation agreements, and will aid any students who are interested and pursuing those agreements. Okay, and my contact information is here at the bottom. I do want to make note that if you are coming to visit campus for any of the admitted students days or upcoming events, I am on campus for those days and do have a table where you can connect with me one-on-one.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Morgan. This is wonderful. And that final comment about the articulation agreements and everything kind of does help transition to one of the questions that came through asking about the optometry program.
Yes.
If you could share a little bit more about that and how the application
Absolutely.
process works for that one.
Yes, so we have an agreement with New England College of Optometry in Boston. It is what we call a 3+4. So students follow a very specific academic path at Providence College. It is the Bio OD degree, where they complete 3 years of academic coursework at Providence. And in their third year, they are taking the optometry admissions exam, as well as submitting their application for the New England College of Optometry program. They will receive an answer in the spring of their junior year, and if accepted, they will enroll in that program, in the OD program, for the fall of what would have been their senior year at Providence College. And after completion of that first year in the OD program, that coursework would transfer back to Providence to award your Providence College degree, and you would continue through the next 3 years of your OD degree to receive both your baccalaureate and your OD degree in a total of 7 years versus 8 years.
Wonderful. Very comprehensive overview. I know there are several nursing questions. I'm going to hold tight on some of those and kind of group them together. But there is a question about being an EMT on campus or getting EMT certification.
Yes, there is an EMT club on campus, but right now there is not an opportunity for students to serve as an EMT with our staff EMTs, and that is to protect our students on campus.
That's great, thank you. Questions about how early students can get involved with research on campus and how that kind of fits in then with internship opportunities. And I always talk to students about kind of reframing that thought process on what an internship means and how there are other things that fulfill that concept. So if you can tackle some of that.
Yes. So many of our students will begin participating in on-campus research in the second semester of their first year or in their second year. There's a few times where students will begin in their first semester freshman year, but most of the time the recommendation is that you are getting your feet firmly on the ground and feeling comfortable and confident at Providence College before you start to pick up those primary extracurriculars. But yes, students can get involved as early as second semester of freshman year. As for internships, as you said, Liz, it is important to reframe the way that we are thinking about internships when it comes to clinical graduate programs and graduate paths. It is not like the marketing or the business field where there are a large variety of quote internships, but instead we are thinking about employment opportunities, research opportunities, and engagement opportunities where you can start to gain clinical exposure, hospital exposure, research exposure, a variety of different spaces. It is largely the same experiences and opportunities with a very different title.
Great. Lots of aspiring physical therapists in the group today.
Mhm.
Can you talk about some of those opportunities and again, that field work experience that could prepare them?
Yes, absolutely. So a number of our students do work off campus or at home as physical therapy aides. That is a great way to get into the physical therapy space in an employment setting. But on campus, we are connecting students with recent alumni who are working in the field for shadowing opportunities because PT graduate programs are going to require at least 40 hours of shadowing in at least 2 clinical settings. Of course, every program makes their own rules, so it is program dependent or specific on what that will look like. But most of the time, our students need a variety of shadowing opportunities and settings, and we're working with the Career Center to establish those.
Um, excuse me. Then we have some of our PA friends in the group as well, and asking about that guidance and support um, for that application process after.
Absolutely. So PA comes with a variety of really specific requirements, one of them being a large number of direct patient-facing clinical hours. So I am having conversations, extensive conversations with students about how to acquire patient-facing clinical hours at home and potentially while they're at Providence. Most of our students will choose to do that patient-facing clinical hour work during their summers and winter breaks because it is a large number of hours and you are likely balancing a rigorous academic course load during the academic year. So for many students, they choose to balance that at home. And I'm having conversations with them to explore opportunities in their local area. Also, what is the license? What are the licensure requirements? What are any internship requirements, workforce development, et cetera? So we are having individual conversations about what is necessary in your home state to be successful in gaining those patient-facing clinical hours. We're also talking about volunteering and exposure to the medical field outside of your clinical hours and your prerequisites for coursework.
Very similarly, the pre-dental track, how that process works, very repetitive, but
Yeah,
program
yeah.
specific too.
Yes. So pre-dental has a very specific set of prerequisites that are necessary. We're also talking about clinical exposure, shadowing in the field. Again, we're looking for at least 2 settings for shadowing, primary setting being your general dentistry space. So we're talking about connections with local alumni. We're also talking about connections potentially at home, as you may have more time to accrue some of those hours during your breaks, maybe on weekends. So not weekends, I apologize, during your breaks and during your summer. Dental offices are not open on the weekends. But we're also talking about service. We're talking about leadership. We're thinking about building your whole application and talking about what timeline is right for you. Do you want to go directly from Providence College, or are you looking to take time between Providence and application or matriculation to dental school? The DAT is a factor, so we will map out your coursework and how much of those prerequisite courses need to be completed before it's time for you to take your DAT. When it is time for you to take your DAT, we're talking about the resources and supports that you need to be successful, because the supports that you need to take it and the supports that I would need to take it would look different because everyone has a different learning style, et cetera.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to go back to our nursing friends too, and
Mhm.
admittedly, some of these are a little more major specific driven.
Okay.
Some are admission too, but then many fall within your category. So one student specifically is kind of thinking nursing potentially, but also that
Mhm.
pre-med perspective, and kind of dovetails to another student knowing that it is a direct admission process for a nursing major. how would you advise a student and kind of help them determine which
Mhm.
direction to go if they're still interested in nursing but don't want to study nursing as a major? How do we
Yes.
kind of walk through all of that?
Absolutely. There are a number of ways that one can become a nurse. You can either go through a kind of direct admit 4-year baccalaureate degree like Providence College offers, or if you're not sure which path is the right path for you, there are opportunities such as accelerated bachelor's of nursing, ABSN programs that you can enroll in. They typically take between 12 and 24 months after your time at Providence College. So they are honoring your baccalaureate degree from Providence. And from there, you're only completing the RN required coursework for you to then be able to sit and take your NCLEX. If someone wants to become a nurse practitioner, there's also the path where you could do a direct entry or entry level nurse practitioner program from any major at Providence. And that would be a 3-year path where your first year would be your RN license, again, honoring your bachelor's degree from undergrad, and then 2 additional years to complete your nurse practitioner license. So there's definitely paths and opportunities to follow if you're not sure that nursing is the right option for you right now and you want to explore some academic paths or career paths in the meantime.
And then several students are also interested in becoming a nurse practitioner,
Mhm.
and kind of how that process goes beyond Providence.
Yes. So if you, like I said, if you did not study nursing, you would be exploring either an ABSN and then a nurse practitioner program or a direct entry NP program. And I would be working with you to complete your prerequisites, etc. If you are a nursing major, myself and the nursing department would be working with you as you enter your junior and senior year to begin preparing for application to NP programs if you want to go directly. Like I said, my office remains open to alumni, so I may be working with you a few years post-grad as you are out in the field exploring a specific area that you want to be in and then considering application at a later date.
Great, thank you. Um, Both with nursing and non-nursing students, when clinical courses are going to start, how that hands-on opportunity comes up, um, and some of the clinical placements. Again, not necessarily your realm, but um, still well-versed in
Yes.
what's
My
happening.
understanding is that our nursing students will begin their clinical placements in their sophomore year. And the other spaces where students are exploring clinical placements outside of their major or their academic requirement, because nursing is the only one with clinical requirements required for accreditation and licensure, the other students pursuing clinical pathways in different majors will likely be taking their clinical paths outside of their academic coursework. And that can begin as soon as your first year, maybe even the summer between high school and your first year at Providence. But it's also okay if that starts later. Everyone's path is going to look different. Like I said, when you step through my office door, your timeline and path looks different than your peers.
Absolutely. And you've referenced this several different times, but I think it's important to start to end on this of
Mhm.
when students should take advantage of you,
Mhm.
how your advisorship starts, and how they should partner you with their major academic advisor too.
Yes. So it's my recommendation. Ideally, I would love to connect with all pre-health students who know that they are pre-health in their first year at Providence. Maybe that's during drop-ins, just saying hello, letting me know, or maybe that is during a one-on-one meeting where we get to sit down and kind of talk about your path, your progress, and direction that you want to take. But it's okay if you don't know that a clinical path is the right one for you and you decide in your senior year that maybe I want to go to nursing school. That is something that students I work with regularly, and that is okay. But the sooner that you are able to connect with me and able to let your academic advisor know that this is a path that you want to follow, the more supports that we can provide for you.
Thank you so much. Morgan, do you just have a last piece of advice to share with our students? Some are applicants already, as I said, some are still kind of finalizing those college lists and applications, but what
Mhm.
advice do you have for our high school students at this point?
Yes. At this point, my recommendation would be to be curious and make sure that your eyes are open as you are considering your future path at Providence, beyond Providence, whatever that may be. And if you do choose to join us at Providence, that your first semester is really a great opportunity to build that foundation where you can be successful moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for everything tonight, Morgan. This has been incredibly helpful for me and students. I hope you feel the the same way. If there are questions that we were not able to tackle tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out to your admission counselor. We are here to help you through every stage of this process, but want to thank everybody for joining and hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening tonight.
Thank you.